Andy Smith, welcome to the sit down, my
Thanks
friend.
for having me.
That's all right. Well, I guess starting, we're gonna go right to the beginning. So, when you kind of got into gymnastics, how old were you? How did you start it? Where did you start doing gymnastics? Let's just take it right back to the start.
So I was about 5 years old. My mum tells a story that I was quite a over-energetic kid, wanted to burn off that energy. So, classic. Every gymnast starts off this way, I'm sure. And mum wanted to kill that energy, so got sent off to a gymnastics class, one of my friends at the time, and it just evolved from there. Doing an hour a week in school halls, where the gym is now at Rushcliffe Leisure Centre.
So you started at Rushcliffe straight away?
Yep, straight at Rushcliffe. Used to be in the school halls, nowhere where the big facility is now, where the karate used to be. Used to take out the equipment, put it away, back in the good old days, until they got the new facility. That's when I joined the boys squad.
That's crazy, man. I always find it mad that, like, I forget, because I started in 2000. So it was when the gym was like the big gym. So I forget that you guys used to like literally pack a kit and take it around. Like, I feel old thinking back that I started gymnastics when it was like the old school vault, like the long vault.
That's right, yeah.
Because like all the kids now, like Matt Boardman, Pavel and Jim, they wouldn't have even known what that was. So
the long horse.
Yeah, that makes me feel old. But like thinking back to then, you guys used to wear green as well, right? You used to wear green leotards, right?
See, I don't remember the leotards so much. The first one I remember wearing was at the NDP Championships when I would have been about 9. So this would have been in 2000.
And was that
like a maroon and silver. Like I'll get a picture because
was that like the East Mids though, or was that not?
Oh, that was East Mids actually.
Yeah.
But that's the first competition you would have done. You wouldn't really have represented knots at national competition until you're a bit older.
That's crazy, man. It's such a long time ago. That photo who was it? That photo that I showed you that Will Trude brought to that party we had last year, when there was all of us like in that big group photo.
Right. And the green one that...
There was a green leotard then. I seem to remember that green leotard. I think that was kind of when I first started. That kind of
you're right.
Came into it.
And then they changed it to the red and royal blue lungs.
Yeah. So how old were you when Serg first started coaching? Because I think Serg came around 2001, right? I think it was 2001, and
You're probably right there. I would have been 10 then.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. Like my first memory of him is we were doing a warm up with Andre, and Sir came in for his first session. There'd been big news, new coach coming from Russia, and he was going to be taking like a young boys group, and came in, and I remember saying hi to him and didn't speak a word of English, so he just completely ignored it. And we were warming up, and before you know it, we were put into this like great group with him, and rest is history, really.
Yeah, because you said to me recently, but like I think I was pretty much when I started, I can remember you being at the gym. Like I was in a different group.
Yeah.
I can remember us having a massive group when we were younger, like massive. Like there was like Jack Adams, Freddie Adams, Adam Harris, Rory, you, me, Ben,
George Zumas, Nathaniel, like
Ryan Rogers, Reese. There was a lot of us. There was like 15 of us. And I look back now and I think, God, Serg had such a job.
Were we all in the same group?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we were all in the same group or if they were like...
Or maybe I got put into that group after a while.
I'd say so.
I can remember working with all you guys, like, because the Drew Sherwood story, like when he
got his
phone trapped in there.
I mean, they were big groups back then. We used to be a lot of us in the squad. Like the numbers were huge.
Yeah, and I think the success we had like as youngsters. So that was one of the things I wanted to ask you about, because you had a lot of success like early on.
Yeah.
And like when did you win the British? What year was that? Because you won under 12 British, right? And
that was like the first time they've ran an under 12 British Championships. They put the team and the all around in the same competition in Piper's Vale. I think it would have been 2004.
No, wasn't that? No, I think it was
Forest of Dean.
Forest of Dean.
Yeah. And I remember doing the competition because it was a new one. Like we were expected to do well, and we absolutely just smashed it out of the water. Like won the all around. Reese, who's another young kid who did so well in the knot system, came second or third. We absolutely smashed the team, and it kind of blew everyone else away. Like how good this generation of knot gymnasts coming through were.
Yeah.
And I remember them doing like a small interview afterwards, and they were asking, how many hours per week are you training right now? And I said between 30 and 35, and they were like, 30 to 35 hours per week training. And they were absolutely blown away by it, because like the hours that we were putting in were just
It was ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, when I look back now and I see like even the hours like the kids are doing now, I just think, wow, like we were doing crazy numbers, man. I can remember walking out of the gym at Rushcliffe one night, and there was a kid, and he was with his mum or his dad, and he's walking out, and I was walking next to him, and like I just finished training for that day. It was like 8 o'clock at night or whatever. Sergey had probably just kept me for an extra hour.
Right.
Something stupid like that. And we're walking out, and this kid goes, "Oh, this is where Sam Oldham does gymnastics." Like I was walking with my dad, and he was like, "Yeah, he trains 12 hours a day." And I was like, "Oh man!" But it like we weren't miles and miles away off that. Like some days we were putting in 7 hours a day. Like it's crazy, man. Think about it, just getting up at 6 in the morning, training before school for like 3 hours, skiving first lesson because we play football on the floor.
Like even when I was at primary school, so my primary school was 10 minutes away from the gym at Hayman, and I would train 7 till 9 in the morning, go to school. I'd turn up a little bit late, but we'd had an agreement with the school where I'm going to be late from now and again doing that first lesson, and then I'd go to school 9 till 3, and then training 3 till 7 again. Obviously it got a bit easier when we came to Rushcliffe Leisure Centre, because you just stayed there from 7 till 7. It was 7 in the morning, get there, gym, school, gym, and then you leave at 7 o'clock at night.
That connection we had with the school was brilliant.
It just became normal for everyone though. It just became something that you did.
You realise now that there isn't that connection at the gym anymore, you realise how good that was, because you just, every time we get 1 or 2 gymnasts at every age group, they come to the school, and then the kids that came to that school and trained before school compared to the lads that didn't, like the progression and the improvement was so fast, because we were just packing in so many more hours than anyone else. Like, and that's what I often like refer to gymnastics as an arms race, because like if you think about it, the sport is ever evolving and the difficulty gets higher and higher and higher, and all it is you trying to learn them skills, and you've got a certain amount of time to learn them in. You know, like say the Olympics is 2 years away, you've got 2 years to learn as much as you possibly can and then get them consistent to be in routines. But if you're spending like an extra 5 hours a week than your opponents training, you've got 5 more hours to train them skills. So for us, when we were kids, it was like an arms race. We were doing 35 hours up to 40 hours a week. We were just doing 10 or 15 more hours than everyone else, so our skill level was so high. Like I remember you being a youngster just on pommel horse just being ridiculous, like doing 400 mushroom circles or whatever it was. But like I can remember you going to British and beating Lewis on pommels.
Yeah, that was
Do you know what I mean? So I think getting back to like that, how did you find, for me, like how did you find going from like quite a lot of success as a junior, as a youngster, probably under 12, under 14, what was that, how difficult was it you then to probably go through a period where you grew and you got loads of injuries, and that that kind of faded away a little bit? How did you find that mentally? The
amount of hours that we were doing, I think it contributed to, because back when we were training, when we were younger, there wasn't so much emphasis on pre-rehabilitation, making sure that all the strength exercise that you're doing your rehab to make sure that your body's not going to be getting knackered within a certain amount of time. So I feel it caught up to me in that kind of sense. But the love that I felt for the sport at that age, like I was always going to carry on and keep going and keep pushing, because I knew where I could get to after my success as a youngster, like just getting back to that point and then progressing from there.
No, because I always think like it's hard. It must have been tough at the time, because I think that was probably around say 2004, 5, 6 was probably when you started growing quite. You grew a lot, man. And like you were struggling, and especially I think with pommels and stuff, because that was like your best piece. It was, I think I
remember going for a period of like a year, because I had problems with my elbow. I'd not been able to do pommel for a year, and obviously you're growing, and by the time you get back to training pommel, like your body's completely different. You got to relearn everything, relearn the event really. But with that, events like pommel, floor, like my awareness, the amount of time I spent on trampoline, high bar, like they picked up. And now you can contribute it to how well I'm doing on floor right now, because of the amount of time that I spent just playing on trampoline, playing on fast track when I was younger.
That's
so
what
you just got to keep. You got to stay in the sport. And you just got to keep developing.
Man. I stress that to like the younger ones in the gym now all the time. Like trampoline is just the one.
Got to play.
That's all we used to. Can you remember on Saturday afternoons, mate? Me and you, Saturday afternoons when like everyone else had gone, we'd just do that landing comp into the pit, and we'd start with like the county floor and vault, then we do the county champs and the regionals, and we go all the way up to like the Olympics. Like we were training for like the stuff we compete in now, like then when we were like 13, 14. It's mad.
We'd have like a 45-minute just on landings.
Yeah, just on landings, mate. Like it's crazy, and that's where we like got all of our awareness. And that's, can you remember like Knots we were famous for being sick on floor. Yeah. Like everyone was like, oh, Knots are just always awesome on floor. Because
like, then it just came a cultural thing. Like, this is what we do. Like you play on trampoline, playing add-on. Like we played so many games. There'd be 10, 15 minutes warm up playing around.
So we were just fearless as kids. Like I think a lot of that was down to Sergey as well, because he just had so much confidence in us. That he was, and Sergey's a bit nuts as well, so he'd be like, you know, some coaches you'd be like, oh, can I try this? And he'd be like, no, you need to take your time. Where Sergey's like, yes, let's push it, yeah, push it to that next
on
Monday, Matt trying triple backs on track on a Monday. Yeah, I was just like, he was doing preps on floor, and I was like, oh no, I was like, that's fine, he's just doing preps. And then Sergey was like, oh Matt, you need to do triple back. 2 minutes later, he's on track trying to do a triple back. I was just like, he's gonna land on his head. The first thing he did, he just landed square on his head. But like, that's just like the faith Sergey puts in you. Like, I guess that's a credit and a testament to his coaching technique. And
I think with his experience, though, like he'll know it's like, okay, this is enough. Yeah, that's enough now. Yeah. But if he wants you to play and he wants you to keep pushing, like he knows when that's right. And
for sure, I think so. And then I think there's like a time and a place for doing more. So like Sergey's famous quote is always one more, which leads to like 10 more, 15 more. Yeah. And there are times now where I think back and go, do you know what? If I had done a few less one mores when I was younger, would my physically be in a better place now? But then the counter argument to that is that I might not have been as good, and I might not have as achieved as much as I did when I was younger.
Early on, like 2012.
It's hard to really, you're right. It's a hard one, that one. Following on from, like, obviously you going through a difficult time with training and growing and injuries and that kind of stuff. How did you find it, kind of me moving away from the gym? And I guess initially Sergey, he became the national coach in 2006. Like I found that really tough that he had left, but obviously I knew the reasons why, and I think my dad and your dad were quite key figures in that process of getting him to move, and you know the job wasn't quite right for him anymore, the amount of work he was putting in and stuff. And so I think we were all pretty understanding on why he was leaving, but still it doesn't take away the fact that, you know, he's been our coach and he was with us for those 35 hours a week, every single week, every year upon year. And then, like I said, I moved away 2007. Sam Hunter moved away 2 years after that. Reese then moved away. How was that for you with kind of like motivation and almost, I don't know, were there times in the gym where you felt like alone? Because I'm guessing some of the guys that were left weren't necessarily training for elite and training full time, and you still had your sights set on competing at the highest level. So how did you find that time?
For a lot of the time, I was still getting back to full fitness, trying to get back into the all-around. I think the most important thing that kept everyone kind of going to that level was that we were still having fun. Like we'd still push each other to do high-level skills, and that's kind of in the culture of Knots Gymnastics, where you push each other and you push each other. The structure of being able to do them sessions of the Monday basics, the Tuesday, that was written into our program as well, really, really well. So the big downfall of everyone kind of leaving was having those kind of elite structures in place, where preparing for competition, making sure that you're fit to be able to do competition. Because a lot of times we turn up not being able to do all around because there's an injury. But as far as they would be the main points, I mean, again, a big thing that for me was being able to have my dad there, to be able to push me, because he was such a lover of the sport. He was someone that didn't know anything about the sport when I started, but he just kind of grew into absolutely loving the sport. And for him, like he just wanted to see me succeed as much as possible. So that's something that kept me going, like being able to fall back on that. So that was a big motivator for me.
I can remember your dad was like a massive figure of the gym. He was like the guy around the gym. I can remember when we lost all our funding, when the men's team finished.
I remember,
they didn't qualify for
big
Athens.
News.
Yeah, and we had got like the bid for London. And I can remember your dad and my dad like just kicking off, because they like to kick off about it. But it normally started with them having a conversation like outside the gym while we were training.
I mean, they'd stay for the morning sessions and watch the whole thing. Do you remember
when they like they were going to march to London? They were going to walk to London to raise money for like the GB men's squad, because we had no funding at that point. I think it's crazy when you look back now, like where the sport is now, and like at that point we had nothing. We had nothing. Like we had no money. Do you know what I mean? Like our senior guys, when we were kids, like the senior guys had full-time jobs. You know, they were like firemen and like plumbers and stuff, and they did it as a hobby. Like it's crazy to see where the sport's come in such a short period of time.
Like I remember when the news broke that the funding was going to be cut, and Lillyshaw, the National Training Centre, was going to be shut down, and like we weren't going to do camps there anymore. And that was such a base. Like I used to love going there, doing weekends and training camps there. So to lose that would have been a big thing. So that's something that I was kind of like really affected by. I was like, damn, we're not going to be able to meet up with other people on the squad. We're not going to have that kind of chemistry 100%. When you go to competition. So that was a big thing. But yeah, it's crazy how far the sport's come from potentially losing funding to 6 years later having Olympic medals, team medals.
So again, like fast forward a few years, how did you move in to compete for Ireland? How did that come about?
So I always knew.
That obviously happened when I was away, so I didn't really.
I always knew that it was going to be an option for me to go down the Irish route as well. Like, mum's Irish, like, very proud to be Irish.
From how early on did you know that?
When I was about 16, 17, like we always knew when I was having injuries and not being able to get back into
so
all
the
around.
Conversation came up at home that, oh, you could potentially
get into where I want to be in the British system wasn't really happening. But I knew going down the Irish route, like I would have been able to do these high level competitions, competing for Ireland. So it was always something that was in the back of my mind. When I was 18, I lost my dad. I took a good chunk of time out. And when I came back, I kind of decided that I'm not going to go down the British system. After coming back, I decided that I want to get back. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to get back into competition. I'm going to get back into the high level. So immediately from them, we started looking down. And as soon as I was fit, about 19, 20 years old, got the citizenship, got the residency and a passport. And that's all you need to change your FIG license over to compete for another country. And that's where it all took off.
And then what was your first like big competition for Ireland?
Cottbus World Cup in 2012. So just at the beginning of the year,
right? I was there.
It was 2012 or 2013 because I remember being in the floor final with you. It was either it was me, you, and
I reckon 2012. I reckon
Max
that must have been 2012. Yeah, because I think I did Cottbus 2011, 2012. So
that's right.
Yeah.
So that was the first competition.
It was so weird as well for me, you know, because like when I first left Notts when I was like 14, like I didn't leave on necessarily good terms, you know. I remember like obviously the coach that I was left with and like your coach for a long time. He wasn't too happy that I'd left, so I didn't leave on the best of terms. And I can remember, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but everyone had a nickname for me when I left. Everyone used to call me Voldemort. Because I
remember that.
Remember that? I had like, there was some serious animosity for a long time when I left. Yeah, I used to find it well awkward going to training camps. Like once I'd been at Huntingdon, because Barry would be there with Sam, because Sam was obviously still training with Barry at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember it being so awkward. Like he wouldn't even talk to me. He wouldn't say hello. Like it was so weird. So for me, I found it well weird at the start. But like I was only a kid, man. I was 14. Like it was a hard thing for me to do. And like everyone was pretty shocked when I left because people didn't know that I was leaving. And I can remember like Jake and Sam being like, "Why are you going? Like, don't, come on, you can stay." And it was like, it was nothing to do with you guys. Like I wanted to stay with you guys, but I knew I was very driven as a kid, and I knew to get to where I wanted to be, like I had to move somewhere else. But yeah, it was weird for me, and then it still was like for a long time until like now. Like I can have a good conversation with Barry. Like he's a super interesting guy. I think he's a great coach. But like at that time, I think it was so raw and still so. You know, he had gymnasts like leaving because there was a lot of people leaving at that time. Reese had left, I think, by that point. When
Sam had gone. Like everyone had
so it was still like a bit, you know.
And to be honest, with you being the first one going,
you
might have saw it as you setting the trend.
I set the trend, and then everyone jogged on. Yeah,
but it's not something that anyone should take personally. Like at the end of the day, no. Especially as a coach.
And the thing is, do you know what it was? It was really weird as well at that point because people didn't used to leave gyms. You got to remember, people didn't. It wasn't a common thing.
That's right.
So when I left the gym, so you basically when you leave club, you've got to apply to get like your membership to a new club. And at that point, you could like, say I was training at a club in London and I want to leave and train at a club in Leeds. The club in London that I've left, they could like revoke your membership to that club. So for a year, you had to be unattached. We used to call it unattached.
That's right.
So I competed for myself for 1 year. Like at 14, it's ridiculous when you look back now. You're like, what the hell? Just
especially when you look down the competition list and you're like,
yeah. So it was, so like I'd go and win the British and it'd be
unattached.
like Sam Oldham unattached. Like for a good solid year, like it was pretty mad. But yeah, now kids move around all the time, don't they? You know, because people got different lifestyles. Parents move jobs and stuff. No matter what it is, it's kind of accepted now. But you forget at that point, it was kind of like it was a big thing that I was moving, and then everyone started to.
Almost feels like it's becoming more normalized because of the results. Like if you're moving somewhere to get you these results, it's going to take you to the top of British Gymnastics. It's a career now. It's not like it's just something you do. It's a hobby.
No, it's more accepted,
career.
Isn't it?
It's a career move, and you're
more accepted. 100%. Yeah.
Whereas back then, when it was a big risk, when there wasn't, like we're saying, when there wasn't much funding, like it was a big risk, but obviously all the benefit to you, really.
Yeah. So around that time, 2012, you competed at that World Cup in Coplas, and there was a bit of a buzz around Irish gymnastics at that point because Kieran Bian had obviously done pretty well, and he was getting a lot of media attention. And people were waving all sorts of rumours about, oh, he's getting paid this amount of money, they're going to make films about him. So like it must have been pretty exciting being an Irish gymnast at that point, thinking, wow, like in the next 4 years, getting ready for Rio. So you must have been super motivated then, and then to be kind of getting your career back on track and be competing well on the world stage.
There was a lot of buzz. There's a lot of buzz, especially around Ireland when we do camps. Like there'd be a lot of exposure, especially when Kieran was there. So to know that potentially, like one day that's going to be you filling them shoes, and we're going to move on. Like the sport's growing, like every year the sport's growing within Ireland. And that first year that I competed for Gymnastics Ireland in the World Cup circuit, so we did 6 World Cups throughout the year. Coplas was the first one where I made the final and finished 4th. And for every position that you finish, so first will be 10 points, second will be 8, 6. You get a certain amount of points. Your best 4 out of the 6, you'll get a total, and then you'll add up your totals and see who the champion is. I finished 4th in that first year, which was a huge thing. They haven't had someone finish in the World Cup circuit really high, and I think Kieran won it 2011. Did really well, but to finish 4th, qualifying for the A World Cups the next year. So just to have a great first year competing for them, like there was a lot of buzz,
springboard going on. And then I guess in those few years between Rio, like I was very much, did we see each other? We did 2013, I guess. We competed in a World Cup in France. I can remember that. Didn't I?
That was the burst. That was the A World Cup.
Yeah, did I knock you out the final?
Yeah, you did knock me out the final. Floor would have been the main piece I went for. And
oh mate, I can't remember. I think I came 3rd, but if it was going back now, I would have let you get in the final.
To be honest, just being around that level, because that final, just to qualify for that, it was made up of the 8 best gymnasts from the World Championships before, and then, like I said, the 4 from the World Cup circuit. So just to be pretty much amongst the best 12 floor workers in the world, just competing at that level was something new, and I was happy to be there.
Yeah, it was weird, and I think like we saw each other now and then, but we didn't see each other. We saw each other at competitions, but we didn't see each other too much. And then 2013, we obviously did PGC, which was like
that's right, that was
just an awesome trip. And then we spent like a week kind of together, and then we started seeing each other kind of.
See, that was fun because that wasn't a competition setting. Anytime I'd see you, we're in competition, like you're talking, but your mind's on the competition. Whereas PGC was just a week of. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, we wanted to win for the world. The world team wanted to win. But it was way more relaxed, fun, and everyone was mixing, and
that's where I learned about beer pong, and I fell in love. My second love, beer pong. That's where I learned to play. But yeah, no, that was an amazing week, man. And then, like moving on, you went. Do you go to Nanning?
Yep, that was 2014. So I moved out to Ireland. The middle of 2014, so about August 2014, I moved out. Made the decision that, so at that point, the program at Notts had deteriorated. There was one main coach there, and I was underneath him being assistant coach, and I was coaching about 36 hours a week and training on the side of that. And I think I did that for about 4 or 5 months, and I was just burnt out. Like trying to come back from injury, trying to come back from trying to get competition fit, and doing 36 hours of it was too much to maintain. And one of my very good friends had moved out to Ireland, got himself a job in a good gym that was starting to get good results, and they wanted to invest in getting high level athletes and coaches out there to up their program. So 2014 I moved out, started training at Douglas Gymnastics Club, and was there for about 2.5 years.
And you obviously still go out there and you coach now, so you still got that relationship with that club.
Exactly.
And that was Barry there at that point when you had moved out there?
Barry just moved out at the same time I had.
Yeah.
So I'd been in talks with Ben and Barry.
Barry. It was pretty much like
some of the old Not Squad boys
so
out there.
Everyone kind of stayed together a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's weird. Everyone was kind of together but split up, because there was obviously me and Sam and Serg and Reese, and then you, Barry, and Ben had stayed together. So that whole thing,
but
it's weird.
Like,
you have a strange bond, don't you? Because
it's a testament to the program of how close everyone is, and
Yeah.
everyone's still working towards that same kind of elite gymnastics. Like there wasn't anyone that just going to be like a rec coach, just going to do like like everyone wanted to push themselves, push each other together.
I think for me, like, gymnastics is one of those sports where you just have a bond with people that you can't really describe it, but you'll see someone that used to train in the gym, maybe they were a younger kid and they didn't get to a high level, but you can see it in their eyes, they still got like that respect for like the older kids in the gym, because they know just how tough it is.
There's a big hierarchy in knots when we were younger, like there was.
Like, you said something wrong, you got punched in the face. It's not like it is now.
Do you remember when we had in the U pits? We used to have the pit of death. Yeah. Where you both start on one side, everyone would sit around the edge, and then you'd march into the middle and fight. Well, it was always the younger one, the older ones pushing the younger ones in, like, okay, these two next.
Yeah, and the king of the castle. And
king of the castle.
Like, throw people off.
But it was fun, like,
it was, man.
everyone always enjoyed it.
We were just a massive team, weren't we? Yeah. But you still see that now. People still say now, like coaches in knots now and younger guys, like, we get people coming all the time. How many people have come in the last 18 months just to visit the gym and see us, like the old knots people? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's, yeah.
And they always say, like, you know, Jonathan and Josh and that, they're like, well, it's crazy that those guys come back, and it's like, it was like a big, almost like a family and stuff.
I bet it almost feels to them like that, with Serg being back, with you being back, with me being back. Ellie and Becky are still there, like that like old home, kind of generation. Like, there's still a connection there with them.
It feels
so they feel like they want to come in.
Yeah, it feels like home almost. That,
some of them have had kids, they want to bring their kids in, like.
Yeah, I always find it weird when I see, like, you know, when you're a kid and you're like 6, okay, so take you back to when you were 16 and stuff, and I had left and that, like, you guys were, weren't you Halo flying for Halo at one point?
Yeah, we were.
So you would
16, 17
so
years
you would
old.
Flyer for Halo and then train at like 7 in the morning or whatever. Like, it's mad, isn't it? Yeah. And like, I look back now.
You can do that when you're younger.
Yeah, but I look back. Well, now, but the system in place now, you wouldn't get away with doing that.
Oh no, of course not.
It's crazy, like how much the sport's changed. But like, I look at people when I was 16, 18 and stuff. Like, the best things in the world seemed like going out and partying and just being with your friends and stuff. And you're like, I used to find it really frustrating that I couldn't do that. And then I meet people now, say like Reese Pearson. Like, Reese, I'm sure you'd agree, he's like one of the most talented kids like I've ever like trained with. Like, he was my training partner.
As far as like a full-time training partner, he was just like, he was that guy that could just jump up and
man. He was just a performer. So like, he'd sit down for 2 hours and do nothing, and someone would come in, like George would come in, George Pedescu, and he'd be like, Reese would fall off his routines for an hour, and he'd say, I'll give you £1 coin for every routine you do, and he'd do 6 in a row. Like, he was just that guy. And like, I look back now and I think, man, he was so talented, but talent only gets you so far. And all the stuff I looked back on before and was like, I'm missing out on this, now I'm like, well, it wasn't worth it. Do you know what I mean? I think that's one of the things I'd say to younger kids. I'd say, like, right now it might seem like the
hard point.
It's a hard sell, yeah. It's a hard
point
sell
to get across. That is.
Yeah.
Because that's everything, almost like their image, and make sure that they're socialising.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what we're kind of like going through now, I guess, with like the younger guys in the gym. You know, the lads that we've got in the gym now that are doing really well, they're like 16, 17, 18. So those things are kind of really coming into play right now. But you just hope that like the guys that they're training, so me and you almost, they pick up our good habits and kind of listen to our stories a little bit.
But at the same time,
you know what it's like when you're 18. Like, if someone goes, don't go out, don't do this, don't it, the first thing you're going to do is, well, fuck you, I'm going to go out and do that. Do you know what I mean?
You want to be your own person, but
exactly, yeah.
Like, we can only push them in using our experiences, like what the best solution for them would be, essentially. Yeah.
And then what, like, so with the Rio situation with you, how was that for you? So
as far as qualification,
yeah. How did that 6 months, like in a it's a quick, just fly through it for us. How did that 6 months pan out?
So we did,
because that was obviously what you've been building up for a long time.
Since 2012, when I started that first competition for Gymnastics, the focus was on Rio. Rio, sorry. The focus was on Rio 2016. I'd done every Europeans and every World Championships leading up to it. 2015, I'd had a bit of an injury, so I'd left the Europeans in 2015, so I was fit for that World Championships, because unlike Great Britain, we weren't going to qualify a team to the Olympics.
Yeah.
We had to send an individual, and to send an individual in the 2015 World Championships, we had to finish within a certain percentage of the all-arounders in the world. Me and Kieran both hit that score, so we were going to send one person to the test event. How we were going to send people to the test event, there was going to be 2 trials.
Right.
We did one trial in London in January and one trial in Scotland at the Scottish Championships in February. And trial in London went well. Had a fall on pommel, but won the trial. Second competition in Scotland, again, couple of mistakes. But the rule was that you could take a score from the last year. Because I was a bit injured in 2015, I didn't do the Europeans, didn't do the European Games.
Yeah.
A score that took Kieran through was the score from the Baku European Games,
Right.
where he hit an 884, like a really good score.
Yeah.
Really,
So essentially what they did in the end was they just took the best all around score. From
because the all around score is how you're going to qualify.
Right.
Doesn't matter how high you score on floor, it's an all around score.
Yeah.
So that's what they were focused on. And credit to Kieran, he hit the highest score and qualified
100%.
himself to the test event.
How did you deal with that? Was it tough for you to deal with that, or did you kind of accept it quite easily?
No, of course it was tough. Of course it was tough. It was.
I think even when that situation comes around and you can just, like I've been in the past, and you can say, yeah, that's fair enough, they should have took them. It still doesn't take away the fact that you've trained 4 years for that.
Exactly.
So it's
I
difficult.
mean, you're saying you trained 4 years for it, but for me, since I was 9-10 years old, and since Serg implemented and I was at the top of Great Britain, and then obviously went down the Irish route, like the Olympic Games was the dream. That's what I wanted to do. Obviously, not making Rio was a big hit, but I mean, it's something that takes a couple of weeks to let the dust settle.
Yeah.
And after that, you kind of start processing it and start thinking about your next move.
Yeah. So the next move for you after that was when it came around that you kind of moved back to knots.
That's right.
So same thing for me. I missed out on Rio and went through all of that process, which was really, really difficult for me. And I decided I kind of wanted to make a change. And it's funny, me and Serg had floated the idea, even with Sam Lindley actually. We'd sat in Loughborough, on cold mornings outside when we're just in there as free. Imagine if we moved back to knots and set it all up and got all the gang back together, just as kind of as a joke, but kind of dreaming. And you're kind of nah, that will never happen, and you just carry on with your session. But yeah, so it was weird. It had kind of been subtly put in there in my mind, in Sergei's mind, for a long, long time. But yeah, it came around. I decided I wanted to change. I wanted to train in a club environment again, because that's what I missed. And I'd always said that the most enjoyable times for me was when I was at knots when I was a kid. And then when those 2 years I was at Huntingdon, I absolutely loved that as well. Those 2 years, I
wanted to get that love back.
Yeah, I needed the love back, man. The love was gone. I needed it. So yeah, I moved back. Serg moved back, and we kind of had this. Before we moved back, we had this little idea. Okay, if we're going to move back, we're going to do it properly, and we're going to set up the system and kind of get it back to what it was before. But how did that come around for you? What made you want to move back? And then I guess what was your motivation now to keep going after the Rio stuff? Because you're right towards the end of your career. What was that motivation to carry on and start and make a big change again? Because when you make a big change like that, you move back to a new club, it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort to kind of settle back down.
So it all kind of came across me moving back to knots. I think it was about July, August time of 2016. I was starting to think, trials had been done since February, Olympic Games had just happened, and I was thinking, yeah, I'm not done here. There's a bit of unfinished business. I didn't want my last competitions to be the failing a 2016 Olympic trial. Yeah. That was a big thing for me. I didn't want my last competition to be a competition that I didn't perform to my best in Scotland.
Yeah.
I didn't want that to be my last competition. I wanted a high level competition where I can show off the best gymnastics I can do.
Yeah.
Where there wasn't that much pressure on me. It was going to be the best gymnastics I could do, and it's going to be something I could be happy with. So I remember July, August time, I got a phone call from you. And you said, essentially, there's a good chance that we're going to be moving back to knots.
Yeah.
What are your plans? What's in your near future? And at that point, I'd kind of realised that I was going to be getting back into things.
Yeah.
Looking at the situation in the gym where I was in Ireland, because I was doing full-time coaching then. Was I going to be able to train full-time and live there comfortably, because I'll be living away from home. I've got to afford all of this. The funding that I was getting leading up to the 2016 Olympics, obviously because I didn't qualify, had been cut. So there was a couple of things that I had to adapt to. Essentially, I came to the realisation that training in Ireland wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
I was going to have to move back to Nottingham, not just because financially it was going to make sense, but with having you there, having Serg there again, like getting that loving feeling back, like being able to train people that you come for, like it was something that appealed to me. Like I wanted to enjoy the training that I was doing, and I knew that under this system it was going to be the best way for me to perform to my best.
It was getting the gang. It was just getting the
gang back together.
Wasn't it? That's what it was. Like it was so sick. It was so exciting for me as well, because like I needed something I could like hold on to that could be like that I would enjoy. Do you know what I mean? Outside of the actual just gymnastics, because I knew it. Don't get me wrong, man. Like once I had decided that, like, okay, I was going to commit to Tokyo, and it took me a long time to get to that point.
Yeah.
That's hard, 4 years is, you appreciate how long 4 years is. So I needed something that was going to get me in the gym each day, and I think that trying to rebuild it, getting people around me, getting the gang back together, because I was spending, like, there was points where me and Serg were doing 6 hours a day, just one-on-one, just me and him, just day after day after day. It's tough, man.
See, it would have been the same in Douglas. It would have been the same in Douglas for me.
It's tough, man. It's hard, like, and you spend so much time inside your own head, and like I think you get to a point when you get older, you realise that's not healthy, like it's not the right way to do things, and it sounds weird, but you have to kind of force yourself to spend time with other people, and
just having 2 or 3 extra people in the gym to be able to talk to
like
to vent to about certain
talk
things.
About absolute shit, but like films and stuff, like it's hard as well when they're like, me and you try and talk about, educate the young lads on music and stuff, films, and they're just like, what's that? And they're like, what do you mean, what's that? Like it's hard to like have that common ground to like actually bounce off someone with. So that's definitely good, having that back in the gym, and I think it's been a success, man. I'd say, like, you look at in the last 2 years, it's not even 2 years yet, we've got 5 guys on the British squad, 1 guy on the Irish squad. Like Notts didn't have that for years, man.
Strength to strength.
I can remember even being away from Notts and being at Huntingdon and then training at Loughborough. Like I always used to look for the results at like British from Notts and that, and just be a bit sad that there was not getting any results. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now I think we've kind of turned that around a little bit, and
it's going from strength to strength.
I want to look back in like 10 years time and see that Notts have got a high elite level men's squad. I think like you'd be the same, because we're both like 100%. Attached to the gym.
Like it had such a rich
got so
history
many memories,
as well.
Like you think back to like when you were a kid and stuff, and like that was one of the things I wanted to ask you actually, that I've never asked you, but I've been intrigued about. Like when you moved back, was there ever any points like where you found it really tough in terms of like, because your dad was such a like big figure in the gym and he was a massive part of your gymnastics, are there ever any times where it kind of brings back memories and you're like, it makes you, or does it have a positive effect?
Oh, it's definitely positive.
Because there's loads, I sometimes think there's loads of like kit in the gym that your dad made.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I still
what
think
does Andy think? Like, what does he feel like when he sees that and he knows that his dad made that kit and there's still kids using that kit? Like, I always think, like, does he find that hard and difficult? Does it make him sad, or does he like almost use that as a positive, and does he feel like his dad's kind of there with him or something? I don't know.
It's definitely not a sad thing for me. Like I look at it and I'm proud. Like it makes me proud of how much he loved the sport. And like we both went from when I was 5, not knowing anything about gymnastics, like nothing, to the point where I was 10, 11 and I was British champion, and we were both so invested in it, to the point where, like I said, he was going to walk to London. He's built all of this stuff for the gym. Like he's helped develop the gym. Like he'd sit in on any meetings. Like he'd take time out of his schedule to come and watch me train in the mornings with your dad. Like it just makes me proud, and to be able to carry that on, even though he's not here, to be able to carry that on, like it just makes me knowing that he'd be proud of what I'm doing.
That's awesome, man.
It's a huge motivator.
That's so good. Because we had Hamish was around, because Hamish comes and stays at our house all the time. Hamish was around the other week, and something came up like about your dad. I can't remember what it was, and he was like, "Oh God, man, I can remember when Andy's dad passed away." And like my mum told me, and he was like, "I was just crying, like, because he was such a big like figure in that. You was like a presence in the gym. Like obviously helped that he was a big guy.
He was a big personality.
Just
that's what everyone says. Huge personality. Like
you always like remember him like shouting at competitions and stuff.
See, that's what most people remember when I go to British competitions now. Like people from that old guard, people of our generation, their parents come up to me and say like, "Your dad would be so proud." Like we hear his voice in the crowd, and
sick.
Yeah, the big voice is definitely something
that's
that
awesome
people
though.
remember.
Like you can be in, and I guess that's why you're so invested in it as well, in the gym, and me as well. The same thing. Like I grew up in there, so we just want to see it do well and that, and it's So what's coming up next few weeks? You've been competing a lot the last few weeks.
Yeah.
You got European Championships coming up in Glasgow. That's exciting. World Championships in 2015 was sick.
Yeah,
the atmosphere was quality. So if it's anything like that, it's going to be awesome. And then you've got obviously build up to the World. So how are you feeling? How's your training going? What are the targets, I guess?
So first international I did was Turkey about 2 weeks ago. We're in Mersin doing a World Cup. First time I've made a World Cup final on floor in a while. But body felt great. Hit a new personal best in qualification, qualified first. Doing a bit more of a simple routine than I'm going to be doing at Europeans. So I'm going to up the difficulty at Europeans and hopefully make that floor final.
Yeah.
So obviously after this Turkey World Cup, we did the Adam Shield. Another opportunity for me to put a big routine out.
Yeah.
More experience leading up to Europeans. Europeans are just over 2 weeks away now, so we're going to fly out week on Monday out to Glasgow. And like you said, the 2015 World Championships were just so like it was the first time that I've gone to a World Championships, and they've involved the crowd so well. Like everyone, the judges and everyone is sat around the outside, and when you're inside the arena, it's just gymnastics. There's no judges in between.
Yeah.
And the amount that they involved the crowd, like I said, it was more of a show. And I don't know if like traditionalists would have liked it so much, but I loved it. I loved involving the crowd like that.
BG paid for all the other gymnasts that weren't competing to go and watch, and we were loving it, man. Like, it was brilliant. Like they did that rotate thing, you know, the guy on the mic would be like rotate, and we were all like shouting it. Like, it was brilliant. Like, it was so good, like just the atmosphere. So it would definitely be the same, I think. Like that Hydro Arena, that's where I competed at Commonwealths in that arena. It's a sick arena. Like I think it's almost like a fishbowl kind of effect, so you can properly hear the crowd. Because I can remember walking out for Commonwealths, and we were obviously England in Scotland. The media made a big thing about England against Scotland.
Big rivalry.
They played 500 miles, and like the place was bouncing, man. Like there's only 2 times in my life like the hairs on the back of my neck have gone up. Like Olympics, like that team final in Olympics and qualification, like hairs just shot up, and then just because I was like, whoa, I was buzzing, like it was sick. So that's going to be awesome. But yeah, like you're looking good in training, man. I guess you've never had a major floor final, so that's kind of the first step in it, really. So
been reserved, been close, but I think what's going to set it aside this year that I'm really looking forward to is like the difficulty's way up there now. Like since I came back last year, started competing a bit more of a basic routine towards the end of the year in Montreal. I was starting to put out a bit more difficulty. There was a bit of an issue with the floor, but but the difficulty was getting there. And then this year, like I just feel like the routine's there now, like it's ready to go. So this year's going to be the one where
it's exciting, man. I can't wait to watch. And obviously, like I was saying before, we've got Pavel competing as well.
That'd be great.
Becky's competing, so there's a good squad from Knots going out there. Serg's
representing.
Man, Serg's going to be with you, so it's going to be sick. It's going to be so good to watch. I know me and Jack will be at home going mental, probably having a few bevies. So it's going to be good to watch, man. And in the Worlds, I think like almost use the Euros is almost like stepping stone to the Worlds, isn't it? Because you got to look at like, who was it last year? Was it Bram last year? Just came from nowhere, just started getting World Cup finals like you did. I think he might have. I don't think he even won a World Cup final before the Worlds. Maybe he did. Maybe I'm wrong there. But then he went straight away. Worlds finals, finished 4th at Worlds. Like so, you can come out of nowhere and get in them finals. It's not 100%. Like impossible. So
floor's definitely one of them events as well where you're gonna have a surprise. Like, there's gonna be someone coming out of nowhere, maybe 2 people.
There's normally that one guy that just sticks everything, and everyone's like, "Whoa, that's gonna be a big score," and he just like upsets the apple cart. So
that's why I love floor. That's why I love floor. Like floor and high bar, are the ones that they're the ones where you could have a wild card just come in and
100%. And I think like. That goes back to when we were kids, just playing around on trampoline and stuff. Like floor and high bar for me, I just love them because they're so just exciting. Just throwing yourself around, spatial awareness, that kind of stuff. I just love those 2 apparatus, and like even more so, like I get my success on the high bar normally, but floor, like I enjoy floor more. It's just that my ankle ain't got what she used to have, innit? So But
World Championships. World Championships at the end of the year are in Doha, Qatar.
Have Ireland ever have a world finalist?
No.
Euros finalist?
Euros, yeah.
Was that Kieran?
Kieran made 2012 European final.
Reese hasn't been old enough yet, right?
Reese has done Euros and Worlds last year.
Euros and Worlds.
Close, like we both came close on, but just outside.
So this is a big year for Irish gymnastics anyway, because they legit got a couple of chances there to a couple of finals. So it's going to be exciting, man. See what happens.
And Adam's solid all rounder, so anything could happen there.
It's good for Irish gymnastics, man. Like. is there a lot of youngsters coming through, or like what's? Because I don't really keep up to date with like.
Right at that junior level,
yeah.
right at that junior level, there's a lot of development going on. As far as between them, there's not so much going on. So people like Reese and Adam are going to be very important because they're young seniors right now. They could have, as long as they're clever, they could have a long career. Like
they can bridge that gap if there's that gap in the middle.
The next two cycles, they could bridge that gap until they've got people again compete at that junior level coming through.
Yeah. It's exciting though to see Ireland competing on the world stage. You know, like Reese beating Max at Commonwealth Games.
Really competitive.
That was massive. Yeah. So it's going to be exciting to see how that unfolds.
Like, that was a huge buzz around Reese after that. Like it was.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. So again, but that stuff, it's just has a knock-on effect. When there's a buzz around someone else, you see it with like the GB squad all the time. You know, like when we were younger and people are filming Lewis all the time, everyone would get a little bit of a buzz. They'd be like, oh, I want that to be me. And then like, you know, Max, Keaton's, all of those guys, everyone gets a little bit of a buzz, and it definitely helps the next generation. So exciting stuff, man. Exciting for that next generation coming through. Definitely a role model. Yeah. So we got a quick fire round. Now some of these questions aren't necessarily quick fire, but so you can take as long as it takes to answer them. Some of them are pretty cool, and I'm quite excited for this. So you ready? I'm ready. All right. Favorite album?
Graduation by Kanye West.
Nice. Best piece of gymnastics you've ever done? So it can be like a skill, combination, or routine, anything, but the best you've ever done, and it doesn't have to be in competition.
I think it's going to have to be last week where I did a two and a half on floor.
Yeah, it was special.
Like, I was just feeling like special. Amazing, and
I can't believe you didn't record that.
Yeah, I probably should.
Yeah, that was. I knew exactly what it was because I saw it. It was
just so nice, and it just
Matt and Pav, just because like seeing their reactions, they were just like, "Oh my, what is going on?" It's so like good for them. But then you see like those guys doing 2.5 punch doubles then, because they're starting to like the ceiling's raised a little bit higher. You know, when they see you do it, it's
almost like you were saying with having that role model like Lewis, seeing what you can do on the world stage. Yeah, there's no reason.
It changes your impossible. Is how I describe it. So like when you're a kid and you've got no one around you doing anything, you're like, oh, that's impossible. But when you see someone that you train with day in, day out, who's just like your friend, or they grew up the same way you did, and they do it, you're like, oh, that's not impossible. And it just changes that mindset. That's
probably why we've got Matt's working triple back now.
That is why we've got Matt triple back really going for it. If you could have a 5-minute chat with anyone who's dead or alive, who would it be? So it can be any, like, it can be famous person.
God, some of these questions are like
good, right?
I can't really think about. I honestly think it'd be someone like Ricky Gervais,
right?
Like he's just got the whole, like he's so intelligent and he knows a little bit about everything, but he's obviously like anything he's done comedy wise. I just find him the most funny person in the world. Like his comedy, like his stand up and all of his series, just something that I just absolutely die watching. Like they're just.
No, that's fair enough, man. You're like, to be one of the best compliments I could give you is that you're just one of the funniest guys I've ever met. I can just sit there and just laugh at you. It's brilliant.
Laugh with me?
Yeah, laugh with me. This is a good one. What's the luckiest thing that's ever happened to you?
Luckiest thing?
So it could be anything. It could be like a ridiculous shot you've done into a bin or something stupid, but like what would you say is like the luckiest thing that's ever happened to you? Have you ever like won a bet, or... I put a bet on Leicester to win the Premier League. That was pretty good.
Luckiest.
I wouldn't say that was luck because they obviously won it, but I did.
I didn't put money on Leicester. I think I'd say most people didn't put money on Leicester.
Is there anything that's happened in like a competition or something that was just lucky? Like, I can remember competing at the World Cup bar final in Cottbus, and I was 6th up, and first 5 guys fell off, and I fluffed my routine. So
well, I tell you what, in that World Cup Cottbus final. Yeah. I was doing a nude tumble. I was doing a 3.5 punch half. So like at this time when the floors were still a little bit not as good, like not a lot of people doing 3.5 twists. I was doing 3.5 punch half. Like anytime I warmed it up in the warm gym, everyone was like, "Oh, excellent." Yeah. But they'd been going out the floor quite a lot because I'd really twist out of the 3.5 and I'd lean out so I could get the punch so I'm not off balance. And I did it in the competition, and I literally landed with the V at the end of the corner. I landed with my feet just like right inside the corner, so I didn't have to do a jump hard turn or anything, but it was just there.
The perfect stick.
It was just like I couldn't have stood in the corner in a better position. It was
sometimes
just landing
things
right
like that just go for you, don't they? You never do it again.
No, not in competition.
You never do that. It's mad. What's your favourite beer? What's your favourite bottle of beer? If you're gonna have a bottle,
Blue Moon.
Okay, what's your favourite pint? If you're going to have a pint, what would you get?
Heineken.
Okay. This is a cool one. What's the biggest sized pizza you think you could eat by yourself? So like you got a 15-inch pizza, 16, 17, 18, 20-inch in one sitting. And I've seen you pack away some food. I reckon.
Pizza's one thing I can't eat a lot of. Though.
Really?
It's so doughy and horrible. Like, I like pizza, but I just can't eat a lot of it. I'd push it to a 20. I'd go for a 20.
20-inch.
I think 20 is pretty big.
I'd love to know how big a 20-inch pizza is.
20 inches.
Okay, if you could crack open a crate of beers with your best friends, okay, looking over one city in the world, which city would it be?
Probably take this opportunity to go somewhere I haven't been before.
Yeah.
Maybe over a city. Maybe like Sydney.
Okay, that's good.
Like a Sydney.
Yeah.
That'd be a nice city to go to.
On like the bridge. Sit on top of the bridge.
Opera House.
That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favourite movie quote?
You're really doing it, Peter. Just a little thing we've been doing. Movie quote. A Rocky speech would be up there.
Yeah, that's good.
The Rocky speech is a classic where he's talking to his son.
Yeah.
That'd be up there.
That's a good one. That's a sick one. What's your favourite song of all time?
God, I've just got so many. Like, it's hard to narrow it down to one.
Yeah, I would guess like a Queen song would be pretty up there.
Definitely be up there.
Yeah.
I like good old fashioned Lover Boy. It's a great song.
And then the last
down to one so hard.
Yeah, that's tough, man. And then the last one, to be honest, mate, is like, what's the dream? What's the dream for you? Okay, two more questions. So, what's the dream now, in terms of gymnastics for like the foreseeable future? And then what's the end goal? You know, what's the end goal for you, for life?
I mean, the dream for me is by the end of the year, like I want to be in a world final. I think the hardest thing.
So if you do that, you'd be able to say, yeah, that's me.
100%.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Because that'd be making history for Ireland, and that'd be anything can happen in the final.
Yeah.
Like anyone who's ever been in a World Cup or European, they'll tell you like making the final is a hard thing.
Yeah.
Anything can happen in the final.
You just got to go out then.
So hitting that routine in qualifications, making the final would be a dream come true, and then anything that happens from there is just a bonus.
Yeah.
Long-term dream.
Yeah, like what does Andy Smith look like in 20, 30 years in terms of like headspace? So is a dream just to be happy and just content? Like, are you going to stay in the sport? What's it going to look like for you?
Like, I feel right now I definitely have intentions to stay in the sport. I've done coaching qualifications to be able to. I've done coach education in America to facilitate being able to go into a coaching role when I'm older. Yeah. I mean, obviously from there, setting up a gym where, again, like Knots, we've got a program of elite gymnasts coming through, and from there, like, there's no reason that a gym in Ireland can't produce an Olympic gymnast.
Yeah.
So to produce a gymnast that's living in Ireland,
yeah,
and then from there a team, and from there an Olympic medal.
Yeah, that's exciting, man.
Would be a dream for sure.
Yeah. And then the last question I'm going to ask you is, what advice would you give to a young person in any walk of life, I guess, that's probably dealt with difficult times and dealt with like some real shit, like say your dad passing away? Like, what's the advice? You looking back now to when you were a kid, what advice would you give someone at that point in their life?
Always try and look for positives. Like, there are positives, even if you can't see them straight away, there's going to be positives. Like you said, my dad passing away. Yeah. The positive for me is like that pride that he had. Like, that motivates me still. Like, he passed away, I think, a couple of months, it's going to be 9 years since he passed away, and it still motivates me to get in the gym to when I'm having a really shitty day. Yeah. To get on the floor, to get into the gym, just to make sure that you're still training. Try and find positives, and everyone has their own everyone has their own journey. There's no set book to success. Like, some people's it's just straight lines, some people go down and up, like they're all over. Some people are going to be all over the place, so just know that everyone's got their own journey, and you just got to trust what you're doing, trust in the people that are helping you. I'd definitely say that finding the positives is something that you're amazing at doing. I know for me, I get stressed a lot, and having you around and Jack around just to chill me out sometimes and be like, whoa, just take a step back. Yeah, like people that you're around. Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, sweet, man. Andy Smith, cheers, my man. Cheers, man.